ever see any seahorses when you were in Dubai?
Seahorses?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, right.
Why? Are you a big seahorse guy?
Yeah, huge. No, I just thought maybe out there in those exotic waters there could be some seahorses.
I'll go looking for you. I'll take some selfies
Yeah.
with the seahorses for you.
I went scuba diving once and met a seahorse, you know,
Oh,
in
really?
Mexico.
There's like, they release like thousands of babies when they have babies.
Do they?
Oh, yeah.
And the men do as well.
Wow.
We're sorry, William. Go ahead.
Out of their
cool.
man vaginas.
Apologies.
So, easy pivot into Umbrella Academy.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about sandals. Go ahead.
Let's talk about them. So, how was this series pitched to you to begin with? Like, did you know the comic book? Or were you a fan of Gerard Way? Like, how was your characters pitched to you, and how did you want to get involved?
I needed a job. That's kind of how I went.
He was living under a bridge,
Yeah.
eating Rice Krispies
And,
with no milk.
Costco
It was-
tuna cans. That's
Yeah, it was a sad day. Well, I was unaware of the comic book, but I got introduced to the whole idea of the show and how the show was going to sort of develop and undulate from what the graphic novel was. You know, Steve Blackman and I had lots of long conversations where we batted our eyelashes at one another across Skype and just said, the moment we meet in the flesh, whoa, I'm going to give you such a cuddle. And yeah, so Steve took me on the journey, you know, that sort of Klaus went on. And it sounded so wonderfully unique and bonkers that I went, yeah, I'm up for that, yeah. And then I said, have you met my mate Dave? He needs a job at the moment.
yeah. I was under the bridge at that time. He was passing by, dropping off the tuna can.
Singing
Yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers to yourself?
I was just
Yeah.
dropping them off the bridge.
My
you know,
beard
it's like,
was as big as yours. Actually.
Yeah, it's because I live under a bridge. Like, I was like, weird coincidence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my mom says that all the time. Oh my
keeps
God.
your chin warm.
Does especially now. But yeah, how was it returning to the world of superheroes
Yeah.
as well? Because can I just say that "Save Me, Barry" is still the funniest thing I've ever heard on television. Like, that's my favorite line of all time.
Wow, well, that's a great honor, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I just had to throw that out there. But
Yeah,
I mean, so
I
how
wish
was
I
for
wrote
you?
it, but you know, I
Delivered
got to
it.
say it. Yeah.
It's all the delivery.
Well, yes, it's great. It's very interesting, and it's been 10 years. You know,
Yeah.
it has a certain poignancy when you think of it that way, because I was 21 when we shot the first series of Misfits, and I'm 30 when we shot the first series of this. And it's you know, I kind of said before that Klaus is definitely, even though he's probably in ways as mature, as arrested in his emotional development almost as Nathan was, he's kind of in a state of perpetual change, Klaus, you know. There's more of a fragility to him, you know. Nathan was, I think, loved and very endearing because he's just so completely cocksure of himself that he was never ever going to change, you know. He was just a child who was just going to get older and hairier. And Klaus is this kind of fragile sort of china cup of a person who is kind of is still very redeemable and, you know, very different. So one is 10 years old into the other in many ways, you know.
So you're playing this, dysfunctional family. How was, building the camaraderie? How did you guys did you do anything to get to know each other as a cast? And what was the feeling like on set? between
Loads
you
of
guys?
dinners and stuff, didn't we? And
Yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, we had rehearsals, but it really worked to the dynamic of the beginning of the season when we really didn't really know each other, and I think that that distance as families translated as us really just getting to know each other 3 weeks, maybe a month prior to actually shooting, and then as obviously the season goes along, the bonding as outside of the set kind of became stronger. You kind of felt that going into, the later episodes.
yeah, we were all away from home, so whoever else had the day off, you'd text them and go, "Do you want to go do something?" And and you just sort of head off an afternoon and do some stuff. What were you gonna say?
Now I'd be like, nah.
Leave them on read.
That asshole.
Yeah, no, just delete that one. I didn't see that
Just
one.
take me to a seahorse museum. Screw this guy.
Not gonna go see the Warsaw.
Thank you guys so much.
Oh, we're done. Oh,
We're done already.
Yeah, I just got the wrap up.
we talk about the Seahorses too.
How's it going, guys?
Good. We're having a good day.
Awesome. Yeah. It's great to meet you. I took a date to see Hard Candy in 2005.
That's
It
funny.
was a quiet walk home.
That is
I have to say.
funny.
I didn't Google it beforehand. That was my bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great to
That's
meet
like
you.
women
great
walking home from every date from pretty much every movie where there's violence towards women. You
Yeah.
saw that rare one that night.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, flip to the other side. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I think this is a really interesting work on its own. Obviously, you're someone who's worked with superheroes before, coming from X-Men. But I think one of the things that X-Men does and that Umbrella Academy doesn't in relation to the world at large is that it's not about, co-opting a marginalized identity for powerful people and being this, like the superheroes. I think their relationship to the world. So what did you think about, the way that Umbrella Academy deals with how superheroes relate to the society around them and like not co-opting that sort of narrative?
I think they're so busy just trying to understand each other. I think the difference is, the X-Men can choose to come and go from this organization. These guys are born into this family. They're adopted, but like, this is the family you pick. And you don't pick the family. This is the family they have. And I think their struggles initially are much more inward before it is about like, let's go out there and save the world. I mean, they have to do it, but they just have to sort of get through the, breakfast together. Kind of thing. I think that's the difference,
I mean, so what interested you about getting involved in this project? Was it the character itself, or were you interested in the world? Were you interested in like Gerard's work? Or?
Well, actually, when it first came up, it was just like I got the first episode. I wasn't familiar with the comics. I didn't know, and I was reading it, and then was going to talk with Steve. And at first, I just sort of immediately was interested in Vanya. She was mysterious. I was like, who is she? I related to her. Clearly struggling with a lot, depression, anxiety, like hardly even knows how to be close to people. And the script in general, to the point when I finished it, I was like, shit, what happens next? And that felt like a good sign. And then when I spoke to Steve and he gave me an idea of the story arc, particularly Vanya's arc, which I was just like delighted to dive into. Also about how he was seeing it visually, tonally, musically, and I just was like, this sounds fucking new and cool and great and like a really, truly a fantastic opportunity for an actor, like such a wonderful role to get to play. I feel very lucky.
Well, what fulfills you most about acting at this point in your career? Because you're always someone who's taken on, different sorts of roles. So what draws you in, and what gives you that sort of feeling of satisfaction?
It's a really good question. It's almost like, do I even have words for it? It has to be like a specific thing. I think for me, God, it might sound so bleak and depressing, but like with someone like Vanya, I immediately was just like, ooh, I want to explore your pain, which is a huge part of what her arc is in this. Is like her navigating like what her whole childhood and everything has meant. She barely has like any idea of who she is. And I think that's something that probably everybody could relate to. So then as like a person, just as a person to like sort of go on that journey. And I don't know why that's so fun and enjoyable to like explore pain and emotion, perhaps because we're so always encouraged not to maybe in our lives. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that watching this show develop, because obviously I was someone who read the comic books when they came out.
Sure.
But I think it's in your character that you can see how much this has evolved from the page, especially because, Vanya, she's kind of barely there before she turns into this monster and then it gets shot in the head. It's
Yeah.
But I think that, so how important was the development of this character in the development of what Umbrella Academy became on the screen? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, I think it was a huge. I mean, I saw it as if one of the main storylines of the season. I think it was very, very important to sort of. We didn't want to do. I really didn't want to do the transformation in the box that was in the comic. She transformations in a machine and she comes out. So I wanted to do a psychological manipulation and transformation, and that required a lot more heavy lifting on the page. But it's really what Ellen did to turn this amazing transformation around. And I think it's far more effective that way, I think, to see this much slower transformation, but just such a satisfying one when you get to the end.
What was your guys' working relationship like in building this character together?
Couldn't stand her. It was terrible. We were great. I mean, we were all very collaborative. I believe in a collaborative process, and you know, I talked to Ellen, and she'd be always welcome to talk to me. And I mean, she embodied the character. You know, these guys made the characters, brought them to life. I just had one part of it, you know.
Well, no, you're being modest for sure. Steve is like just real. We just had like lots of great conversations. Like really wants to explore your ideas. Like you're such a great, strong collaborator, truly. So I think that was the environment all the time. At the beginning, on set, it was yeah, you're really, really a superb person to work with.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
So are you.
And now tell me what you really think.
No, we're okay. Yeah, really. Thank you so much. No, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, great. How are you guys?
Pretty good in yourself?
That's pretty personal.
Doing well. Too personal? Just get starting off on a weird foot right away.
How am I? I haven't thought about that in years.
Who are you? No, I'm kidding. Who are any of us, right?
Who are we really?
So how's it going? Congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, very obviously you're a legend in the music industry.
Thank you.
I've been a huge fan forever.
Thank you.
You do music?
A couple times.
A little bit? Oh,
A little.
I didn't know.
Yeah. I think You're All I Need is like the best hip hop feature. Like,
Oh, thank
R&B
you.
of
That
all
was my
time.
first Grammy ever. I got to
Congratulations.
thank you.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
But I think that obviously I'm really interested in the way that you've come to acting. So what fulfills you most about acting, and especially with this project?
What fulfills me most about acting is the ability to transfer my emotions, my real living emotions, just like I do with my songs, into these characters. So I have to find real, living places to, you know, put into these characters. I have to, it's living scenarios to put into these characters. So it makes them real, and it makes people relate to them, like my music. Same thing. That's the fun part about it.
So obviously you play these two partners. At what point in the process did you guys meet, and how did you guys build chemistry and get to know each other?
Well, we met the first day we met.
Yeah.
What, the first day of our shooting we met? No, it was
Yeah.
it was the reading.
Yeah, it was the reading.
It was the reading.
Yeah.
I started liking Cameron during the reading.
Did you?
I was like, I
Oh.
like him. He's fun. He's going to be fun.
Great.
And then we got to set, it was like, okay, he's exactly what I thought he was going to be. And then, you know, it was kind of quiet. I observed quietly. And then we got on set, it was like conversation,
Yeah.
laughter. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, day one of set was a very memorable day. I mean, that's sort of where we found out, you know, what chemistry we were going to have on the camera, and then off camera. You know, it's going to be a long shoot. Hopefully, we get along, and luckily we did. Yeah, we got to have a lot of fun together in Toronto.
How different is your guys' dynamic between, you know, on camera and off camera? Like obviously you have to play a very different character than yourself.
Well, Cha-Cha is like the boss and a bully and, you know, do what I say and hate the... Mary's a sweet, kind, fair, you know, loving person who has, you know, I mean, I don't have time for Cha-Cha. Like, Cha-Cha is too much for Mary. You know, if I need her, I'll call it out.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of weird. It was very, very different, you know, between action and cut. We're entirely different people than the ones hanging out backstage. You know, there were pretty serious moments. In fact, sometimes we'd have to shift gears while we were telling jokes and having fun, and especially for Cha-Cha to get where she needs to go in this very kind of dark place before the camera rolls. Yeah, they were night and day. Yeah.
What was the training process like for the two of you? What did you
I
have to go
trained for
through?
martial arts every morning. I shot guns before I even got to Canada. So it was intense.
Yeah, same for you?
Well, I had to start stretching more before fighting, so that was a big difference, to actually have to have physical exertion. And then, of course, we had to get the sweat away for the take to start over. So that was tricky. Yeah, I hadn't shot many guns. My family are hunters. I just was never interested. But I also never held a sawed-off shotgun until this show. And they're pretty fun. They're pretty exciting.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much. It's a great
Thank
pleasure speaking
you.
with you.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Middle East, so you work out of like
Out of
Dubai, or
Yeah.
do you live in Dubai?
Yeah, I've been there for 10 years.
Oh, wicked! Do you like it?
Yeah, it's great. You guys ever been? It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. I go a
brother
lot. My
works
brother
there.
works there. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
really?
a pilot. Yeah,
Oh, crazy.
For
For
Emirates.
Emirates.
yeah,
Awesome. Maybe
Yeah.
I've flown his flight. I fly a lot.
yeah, yeah. For sure. Yeah, it's great. It's a great airline.
Perfect. Yeah. So, how were you pitched this show to begin with? Like, who told you about it? What was the idea on the page, and how did you react to the pitch for the show?
He's got the good story.
Okay, so well, yeah. I mean, I got a call about this show, and I got sent like a breakdown of what it was, and I'd never heard of it. You know, I was like, what is this thing? I've not heard of this. So I Googled it, and I saw that imagery of all the characters from the comic and how different they all were. You know, with number 5, the little kid, and then like Luther, this big monkey body at the front, and then Klaus is floating, and it was like such a different group of superheroes that I'd not seen before. And then I read the comic, and I immediately was like, this is wacky, this is completely different, you know. And then I got arranged a call with Steve Blackman, our showrunner, and he then pitched me the show version of this, and his plan for it was so unique, and how he said it was going to be sort of like this Wes Anderson feel, you know, Royal Tenenbaums sort of family dysfunction. It was just something about it that felt unique and that I wanted to do. I don't know what it was. I just was like, I've got to do this thing. There's just nothing else out there like it. And he fully delivered at every step of the way. Everything he told me in that very first meeting is going to be this, it's going to be that. I was like, okay, cool. I actually thought, I'm not sure how this is going to work. I'm not sure how he's going to do this. But he did every step of the way, in my opinion.
And were you someone who went back to the comic as well and like looked at this character?
Yeah, well, I read the pilot script first, and then I was like, this is one of the best pilots that I had read that season, and I was like, this is so good. And at the time I was just sending in a self-tape, and so I read the first comic, and then several months later, when it was like it came back around and was going in for my test, then I reread the first one and then I read the second one, and it was just unlike anything. And I'm very new to the whole comics, graphic novels, Comic-Cons, like that whole world is very foreign to me, and so I just loved the idea of being able to read the script, but then like going back and seeing what they pulled from the comics and kind of, you know, Gerard and Gabriel's initial plan for these characters and what they wanted them to look like, and then how they transferred to the page, and then eventually, hopefully, the screen. And it's really cool to see it in its different phases, and to be here kind of representing this like pre-existing comic, which is so brilliant. So yeah.
What were you each able to bring to the characters that wasn't on the page? You know, through this process, obviously there's source material, there's this great vision from the showrunner, but how were you able to, you know, bring a bit of yourselves to these characters, or a different interpretation maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to find the human inside them, the real person who, you know, what's driving them and what, you know, makes them tick, I suppose, and what makes them different as well, and what makes them relatable. And the thing is with all of these characters is they all have a different hang-up. You know, they've all been affected by the upbringing they've had from their father. And because of what's happened to Luther's body, right, and he has this huge grotesque body, and before he had a very normal body and was sort of the, you know, Alison, I think, was the poster girl for the Umbrella Academy, but I think Luther was almost like the poster boy of the Umbrella. And that's damaged him a lot, and he's effectively got a form of body dysmorphia. He's awkward and stuff now. So for me, what I delved into was trying to find, you know, the sensitivity to Luther, like how he's hurting. He's deeply hurting because of what's happened to him, and I think he also is so concerned about what Alison will think of him now. Well, now he's coming back from isolation on the moon, he's got to come back into this world and, you know, coexist with these guys again, and that's the biggest thing for him. It's the biggest challenge for him. So I wanted to find all that deep hurt inside of him.
Yeah, I think finding the human side of all of these characters, and I think Steve Blackman and Peter Hoare, who directed our first and 10th episode, they really trusted us to make decisions for these characters and speak for them and bring as much of ourselves to them as we could. And yeah, I think they did such an amazing job at casting everyone. It all feels like we are all playing like heightened versions of very fluid versions of ourselves, which with more drama and abilities that I wish I had. But it kind of happened very naturally and it was very fluid, and everyone kind of slipped into their appropriate slot in the family, and I think some of the best scenes are when we're all together, and that dynamic is kind of fleshed out more and more as the series goes. So yeah, I think
Can I just ask quickly a follow up about this bodysuit that you have? I mean, I obviously see the comic; it's gigantic, gorilla. So what was it like in building that? Did you think you were going to be CGI with your head on top, or how was it like building that?
There was a few stages, yeah. I mean, they used to send me these concepts of what Luther was going to be, and originally the first thing was that it was going to be mainly my body, my own body. So I had to try and get as big as I possibly could, and then they were going to add on prosthetic parts. But the problem with that was every day I'd have been going through this whole prosthetic process, and it just wasn't practical. So they decided to make this big suit, it was never going to be CGI. I don't think it was never going to be that. Also because I said to Steve very early on, I was like, I want to feel that. I want to feel the weight of the suit. I want to feel what it's like to be that big. So if I was just going to be in a green suit, that was like spandexy suit, and then we had CGI, and I was like, it doesn't really feel the same, because I want to feel that weight of what it's like to have that awkwardness, and to fight like that and everything, and just to feel it every day. And that changed my performance. I think it changed the way I moved as Luther, and I just felt more awkward, I suppose.
Cumbersome.
Yeah, cumbersome, yeah. And just aware of this change that he's still dealing with. So yeah, the process of learning about how it was going to turn out was great, actually. Just all the different concepts that get sent to me, and it evolved a lot through the whole process.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, man.
Pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Cheers, bud.
Bye.